This 13-mile lighthouse shot looks like a win for Flat Earth. Alright, this is an observation of Cape Lookout Lighthouse from 13.25 miles away. Rusty Shackelford, a globe donut on TikTok, went out, set up a telescope, and captured this image. He thinks it proves globe. He shows this to flat earthers, and instead of trying to debunk it, or even check the data, they just complain. A TikTok flat earther named Foil Crown, or Foul Clown, says that these little 2 to 3 foot waves are somehow hiding 50 feet or so of the lighthouse. Another one named Poopy tries to use his own observations, where he seems to be really confused between haze and actual obstruction from a location 300 miles away, so it's not even the same place. This isn't analysis, it's avoidance, no measurements, no math. So let's do what they refuse to, and actually try to debunk the globe using this observation. So we'll zoom in here. If you look, we can see a diamond shape in white here, and then another diamond that gets kind of oblonged here. It looks like it's pretty distorted down at the bottom of this diamond. And when we compare it to a close-up picture of this lighthouse, we can see there's a third diamond down there that seems to be completely missing. So let's run the numbers. I found this blueprint diagram of the lighthouse with real measurements. So if we compare Rusty's picture to the close-up here, we can see that this second, the middle diamond, distorts and cuts off above the bottom of that diamond, but the distortion happens a little bit. So it's somewhere around the same height of this window over here. So let's look at the blueprint. That is actually this window, and we can compare it because we have this window here, and the top. So the window, and the top. So let's get these heights. We'll skip the brick apron and go, the first floor here is 10 foot 4 inches. The second floor is 24 feet 3 inches. This section here, the third floor, is 24 feet almost exactly. And then this line is the top of that floor, comes out to like this step in where you can look out the window. And we know the distortion happens around there. So we're just gonna leave it at that, 58 feet 7 inches. Now, because Rusty actually gave us the name of the lighthouse, we can look at this and see that it is on land that is a 3.5 foot elevation. So from Rusty's picture, we can accurately say we're missing about 62 feet of this. Now, Rusty was kind enough to share his GPS location right here. And on the screenshot he took, it said he was at an elevation of 7 feet, but I'm not gonna use that. I'm gonna use what this thing says. So we're gonna go 4.7 feet. And then Rusty gave us his telescope on the tripod that sits about a foot off the ground. So in total, we're going observer height 5.7 feet. And then when we measure the distance between the places, 13.22 miles. So we'll go up to 13.25 miles, just to make it a nice roundish number. Now what do we do with all that information? We plug it into the Walter Bislin's Advanced Earth Curvature Calculator. An observer height of 5.7 feet. Target distance, 13.25 miles. Target size, we can get that here, 163 feet, and then we add 3.5 feet because we know it's on 3.5 feet ground. So 166.5. And then standard refraction because, as we can clearly see, he is looking over water. Now with those numbers plugged in, we got a hidden height of 55.75 feet. Now compare that to what we got with our estimation. From the image in the blueprints, we estimated 62 feet missing. From globe math, we got 55.75 feet missing. Yeah, we're off by a few feet, but that's extremely close for a real world observation with some distortion. Now for a little fun, if we go over to the calculator and we click this little globe plus flat earth, would you look at that difference? On flat earth, we should be seeing the entire lighthouse. Now maybe somebody can correct me, but I don't believe that is the entire lighthouse. And why should we see the whole thing on a flat earth? Because bottom-up obstruction does not happen on a flat surface. Any flat earther present that math to prove me wrong. Now here's where excuses fall apart. It's haze, as some dumb people say. Haze reduces clarity, it doesn't magically slice objects at the bottom. And then the stupid excuse of those 2 foot waves are massive and hiding it. If you're above an obstruction, it will never block more than its own height. It's basic elementary school geometry. So the flat earthers tactics here is something you see all over TikTok lives. They invite people up to prove the globe, and when somebody actually brings data, they dodge, dip, dive, duck, and dodge, deflect, change the subject, and mute and boot you because it's the only power they feel like they have in their lives. But once you bring measurements, the argument doesn't survive. So I tried to debunk Rusty's globe proof here, and instead it lined up with a globe prediction almost perfectly. If this is what happens when we test one random observation, you can probably guess what happens when we test the rest. And if you want to see Rusty's observation and his cool space pictures with that telescope, check his page out. I'll put a link to him in the description and possibly the comments.